Hi, my name is Thomasina Brown, and I picked Chapter 7, which is over language. Language and culture. Language is a method of communication that is verbal and nonverbal. Language is a way individuals communicate with one another. The United States has evolved over the years. What used to be a European country is now a mixture of languages, accents, and dialects, and these are all spoken in our schools. Schools are now required to accommodate these needs of diverse students. This is true. Um, at the beginning of the time, everything was European, everyone spoke English. Now, fast forward to now, you have different cultures and different students that are in the United States school system, and English is not their first language. So, curriculum and everything associated with school and learning um, has to come up to date, and it has to not only accommodate English speaking students, but it needs to also accommodate the non English speaking students. The nature of language. Different groups of people speak different languages, and those individuals are unique in their own way. There is not a good or bad language. All languages serve a purpose for linguistic needs of individuals who speak the language. Language is cultural and is associated with an individual's class, gender, geographic, and ethnic origins. Um, I agree with this statement that came out of the book because different people who speak different language, they speak the language that is native to them, the native tongue, their birth cultural group. I'm African American, um, so I speak English. English is my first language. Um, I haven't had any other language, but if I were to be born in, let's say, Africa, and I was somewhere in Ghana, I would speak the language that they have in a particular area of Ghana. And if I moved to the United States, Ghana would still be my first language, and English would be my second language. So if I am in school, the schools should be able to accommodate me. They should be able to accommodate that I have a Ghana origin, which they should be able to reach um, and associate things with things that I already know, and also adding English and teaching me the English language and the culture and everything else that goes along with the English language. Language differences. In the United States, there is an estimate 12 million children who speak a language other than English. Approximately 8.5 million of those groups speak Spanish. This is the majority of bilingual population in children. There is an advantage to bilingualism. Individuals who are bilingual will have more opportunities in a growing global economy. This is true as well. Before I became a teacher, I am a dental assistant as well. And when I graduated from school and I started applying to different dental offices and I was looking at the description and the things that they needed, I noticed that different jobs were asking for people who were bilingual, and they were willing to pay more money for them to come to their office. And this is because, again, the United States is growing, and the United States have more cultures, and to accommodate their patients that not only speak English but speak Spanish, there are some who doesn't speak English at all and they just speak Spanish. So they needed someone in the office who speaks English to be able to communicate with them, and they also needed someone who speaks Spanish to communicate with the patient, to be able to, for the doctor and the patient to be to communicate. Or if it's not the doctor, because some doctors are bilingual, but the doctor can't be in every single place at the same time, so they will need other workers and other dental assistants and hygienists and people who work the front desk. They need all of their people to be bilingual. So I do agree with that. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is communicating without using your voice, and it is as important as verbal communication. Nonverbal communication can be achieved with physical appearance, manner, personality, and individual's attitude. It can contradict or reinforce what is being said at any particular time. Cultural influences what language spoke in various groups, and it also plays a role with nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication varies between cultures. One gesture could mean one thing to a certain group and mean something else to another group. It is important to understand the difference. To kind of elaborate on this, is saying nonverbal communication is very as important as verbal communication, which is true. And even when I was reading about nonverbal communication, I was thinking about working in the schools. Nowadays, we're having a lot of school shootings, and I pray that it never happens again at any school. But in the event that it does happen, we have active shooter drills where we have to be very quiet, and we're teaching the kids to be attentive and pay attention. And when we're doing this drill, there's absolutely no talking. It's only moving and going to places where we feel secure, or going to places where we feel we can hide to be safe. The entire time is no talking. So I have to be able to communicate with my children. They have to be able to understand the nonverbal communication. They have to be able to know the gestures that I'm doing, or go here, or go there, or stop. You know, verbal communication is very important in the sense of safety. It is also important to know nonverbal communication. Like I said, in a case where there is a person who's staying in the United States and they don't know English at all, they only know their native tongue. So in order for them to communicate with a person who does not know the language that they speak, they will have to be able to understand the nonverbal communication. A person who's trying to talk to them, they need to be able to know what to do in order to get them to speak. So nonverbal communication, in that sense, for safety and other purposes, is very important. And it also says cultures influence the language, and it influences nonverbal communications. To a person that stays in another country, in another place, a gesture doing this in the United States, this is a nonverbal communication hi, or greeting, or speaking. In another country, this could mean something else. It could be bad. It could be a signal of acknowledgement of something, or telling someone something that you don't want. So you have to be aware of the different things that you're doing to certain people, or saying certain things in certain places. Second language. In the United States, there are more than 4 million ELL students. These are English language learners in our schools. The majority of these individuals speak Spanish. Following the majority are Asian and Pacific languages. Research has shown that students who do not speak English can achieve basic interpersonal communication skills within 2 years. Unfortunately, the skills will not be enough to achieve cognitive, academic, language proficiency. This will take an additional 5 to 7 years. This particular second language thing is just saying that English learning students can come into an environment, and after a year or two, they're able to adapt, and they're able to comprehend what a person is saying when they're having a general conversation. On an academic level, it will take more, because you have to be familiar with the language. You will have to be familiar with the culture in order to be able to read and comprehend the things that you are learning, the things that you're reading, to be able to perform on an academic level. to be able to understand text, the things that you're reading. You need to be able to write and be able to explain in writing what you're doing. If you're taking a test, you need to be able to read the question and comprehend the question. A person of a different language or a different culture may not be able to read English but can speak English. So if English is not my native tongue, I'm not going to know everything there is to know about a specific language. So if I'm new to the environment and I'm around, I can adapt and I can watch and I can observe the things that's being said, the gestures and the emotions that go along with different things and different words that people are saying. Visually, they can learn that, but on a more intellectual level, they will have to be able to read and comprehend the English language. It's easy to visually look and hear and do those, but even in our English language, we don't always speak with proper English. I can say for myself, how I talk at home and talk to my family and friends is different from the professional me at work. So I know how to turn it on, turn it off. But if you are not used to speaking English or used to the culture or the language itself, it will be hard for you to do that. Differentiating instruction for all languages. Schools have large numbers of children. Majority of the children are colored children and linguistic children in classes for students with disability. And a low percentage of these children are placed in gifted and talented classes. The testing for these students have arguably been biased because the test is designed for students who speak English and are culturally aware of their surroundings. This has been identified and efforts are going toward fixing the problem. This is basically saying that children, minority children or children who speak a different language who come over here and is not on the academic level or doesn't speak English or just not aware of the culture and know how to read and comprehend things on the English level or the English language is being biased. There should be a test that accommodates a person who's coming from a different place. It should not be based on or at the level of an American student that has been speaking English all their lives and has been in school for years. Let's just say they started from kindergarten to fourth grade, and here comes a foreign student or a non-speaking student that's on the fourth grade level. He shouldn't have to take a test that will accommodate someone who has spoken English all their life and has went through kindergarten to fourth grade because they have been getting the teaching. They know how to read, they know how to comprehend. So there should be something to accommodate the non-English speaking student. I do agree with that, and there would be a bias because why would you give a student a test and they have no idea what it is? So of course they will score poorly, and just because it's an English test that they score poorly on doesn't mean that a test that accommodates them or is in the English language that they wouldn't do or achieve a high score. I don't think those students should be automatically placed in a class of students with disability because, in my opinion, a child that comes from another country and doesn't speak English as their first language, that's not a disability. That's just someone coming from a different environment that is not the environment that they stay in. So, and not just the United States, I think all places should accommodate anyone because it could be the same thing as a student living in the United States and they move to Italy. Italy should have